It's been another beautiful week of various happenings all around the world, and of course our dear country Nigeria is not left behind. Every day of our lives things will surely come up, and there will be new things to discuss. And also we've seen updates to occurrences in the past week, and as you know that on Editors Forum we'll be bringing all of these discussions that are front burners to you, to give you an insight, and as I always say, solution providing conversation. I mean, with a lot of things happening around the world, it is easy to complain and give reactions without necessarily providing a solution. But on Editors Forum, we will be having conversations centered around solutions that will make our world and definitely our country better. So on that note, I welcome you once again to today's edition of Editors Forum. I am Layo Shobo for Lauren Shaw, and I have two amazing guests with me in the house, professionals in their field. As you all know, that Editors Forum is centered about professionals in the journalism field who have seen far and wide and can have conversations that are great towards moving the nation forward. So join me as I welcome or say unveil Mr. Tony Uwaje. He is a public
I've been in front of the house. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you so
It's
much.
so great to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And of course, I have Mr. Sunday Odibashi also with me, public affairs analyst and also a media practitioner.
Yeah,
You're welcome to
Thank you
Editors
for the
Forum.
opportunity to hear it.
So maybe first of all, just to tip it off, how do you feel being back on Editors Forum? To you, Mr. Tony.
I feel great, and I'm happy you're back, and I hope we sustain this time.
Yeah.
Because this is where it should be. When it comes to journalism, issues about borders on Nigeria, where you have top-notch editors come here every Saturday to dissect the issues. I mean, it should be consistency is important.
We will continue.
Yeah, I pray it continues.
Okay, so on the 7th of July 2023, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he set up a Presidential Tax Reform and Fiscal Policy Committee, and eventually on the 8th of August, that committee was inaugurated, and the President tasked the committee on reforming the taxation in the nation to ensure that the nation moves forward. Definitely, that is the end goal. And today we'll be looking at that move by the President. What does it mean to Nigerians, for Nigerians, to Nigerian economy, and the nation as a whole? So before we continue the conversation, let's look at this report. We'll be
According to the President, the committee, which is headed by seasoned taxation expert and economics Taiwo Yedele, is charged with the responsibility of delivering a quick fix reforms that can be implemented within 30 days. A taxation expert and economics bear their minds on the benefits.
We have been talking about Nigeria mono-economic structure, diversification of revenue, and harnessing the tax revenue as a revenue base is actually a theme of nobility for Nigeria. But the major challenge we will have will boil down to issue of transparency. The burdens, no doubt, will be overwhelming on the taxpayers, the citizens.
It is a long-awaited committee, because before now, the Nigerian or citizens of this country have been complaining about very unfriendly tax policies. But with the inauguration of this committee, it has clear objectives. One of the objectives is revenue collection efficiency.
On the possible challenges the committee may face, an economics and lecturer of the College of Education, Warri, and a taxation expert spoke on the low morale and relieving the burden on common Nigerians. With the full implementation taking place within one calendar year, according to the terms made available to the committee, one would expect reforms that will alleviate and not add to the sufferings of Nigerians regarding the fuel subsidy removal.
I think that one of the major challenges that they might face is the low tax morale of the Nigerians. We don't have any, Nigerians generally might not have any belief in the payments of taxes because the ones we've paid, we've not seen the effects and the uses so far.
Planning the tax net, there are some persons who are not currently in the tax net. So the challenge is how to bring them in. The SMEs, the unregistered corporation, registered corporate bodies, market women, the artisans, the craftsmen. How do you bring them into the tax bracket? That will be a major challenge.
Expect that the government will bring a kind of tax reform that the burden will not be on the poor masses. For example, the issue of transparent reporting of taxes. That means the revenue that is due to government will be adequately recognized, unlike before, where there are a lot of discrepancy between what the NNPC, one of the major revenue sources of the country, is reporting and what we are getting.
From Warri, Daily Fast on reporting for Galaxy News.
And there we have it. So we delve into the conversation straightforward. First of all, I'd like to ask Mr. Tony, do you think this is a laudable one from the president? Also, looking at the fact that the inclusiveness, he has so many units, departments, women in business, even students represented in this committee. So would you say this is a laudable one from the president?
It's very laudable. I appreciate the fact that it took that step, harmonizing our tax collection, tax revenue in Nigeria, because we had issues, and I'm wondering why the former administration didn't even see it, because it's important. This is a country whereby anybody can just create any organization and start collecting tax from people, in various shades. So coming together, and then most of the agencies, the departments, and NDAs, the parasitas under, at times you notice clashes, intra-agency clashes and all that, all because of revenue collection, generation for government. Even agencies that are not supposed in the first place to collect revenue for government are doing so, and forgetting the primary responsibility. I'm happy starting with this, because apart from the fact that the country, apart from the fact that we have oil, there are other areas too where we can actually raise resources. And people have been evading tax. I'm coming to that, the reason why people do that. But people have been evading tax for a long time in this country. So when you widen the tax, but then don't overburden the poor, there must be procedures to this. Because when you say you want to expand the tax, widen the tax net, people want to see the instrumentality, how you're going to do it, so that at the end of the day, we can all go home happy. It's a welcome development, but I'm still watching, because this committee, it's a committee mandated for to operate for 30 days. So let's see what they come up with, and then what government will now do with the implement report.
They're actually supposed to come up within 30 days.
Yes, come up with a report.
So I think they're spanning 3 years.
Yes, you come up with a report and submit back to the president before they kick off the execution. And in the process here, I think I heard the chairman of the committee saying that I think FIRS should be the sole collect and revenue collecting agency. And I support that. Because I don't want to mention agencies, but I know agencies in Nigeria, which normally it shouldn't be about revenue, because when you do this, you're taking away their function, from them. Because when what it is when it comes to money. Yeah. So they start chasing that. We're talking about, for instance, JAMB.
There are even risk of multiple payments.
Yeah, multiple taxation, and you cannot account for it. So it makes a whole lot of sense if one agency takes those aside, so they can focus on their core responsibility. For instance, custom and excise, JAMB, NIMASA. These are me. So, but now when you hear about this, that's why I end up calling them juicy ministries, juicy agencies, and juicy parastatals, because of this. Take those areas so they can focus on what they come for, and create a revenue generating agency like this, just to collect taxes, so that all these agencies and agencies of government can focus on their core duties. I think it will promote efficiency.
All right. So, but do you think it should have come earlier than now? Do you think the president should have put this out even before the fuel subsidy removal announcement and everything?
Well, I think he's just taking his step one after the other. Yeah, since he came into office, he has been trying to find out an alternative, to a financial burden on the government. That's how he started with the subsidy removal, the way he did on Fiat, and he's now coming up with this. Perhaps he's been working to enhance the capacity of the federal government to deliver, for service delivery, and also encourage promote national development. And that might be why he's going in this direction. Which comes first or which comes second depends on the priority of the Mr. President. Okay. So while we wait for what the committee will come up, we just hope there will be something very rational.
All right, so you were going to talk about tax evasion in Nigerians, because it's one of the challenges we talked about in the... But before we go there, I just want us to look at the committee at large. What do you think they should focus on specifically? Because as you said, this means a lot for Nigeria and the economy. So what exactly should they, what are the things they should be focusing on?
First and foremost, as I said earlier, is to take away those revenue generating function from ministries, agencies, and parastatals of government. First and foremost, take it away from them so they can focus on their core functions. Because that's why, for instance, the MPA, customs. Sorry, you hear JAM now. All you hear about JAM, we have remitted some amount of government. I mean, that's bullshit. Sorry, I'm using that word. I'm sorry I used that word. That is nonsense as far as I'm concerned. JAM should not be interested in generating revenue for government. In fact, how many of them am I going to mention? So first of all, take this away from them. This is what you're created for. For instance, custom, excise, MPA. The massa is there. So take, of course, because even within this agency, you see people saying, I want to go to the finance department. No, I want to go to the port. I want to go, So take away that crisis, take away that tension within these agencies, and let's create an agency. I heard people say, like in Lagos, for instance, like you can replicate how, because there's a template already. I don't want to go in there. I'm seeing replicated at the federal. That's it. If there will be accountability, create an agency of government, and then all these multiple taxations has to stop. Before that, we need to punish bad behavior in this country.
Before we go to that, how would you rather have it done, especially with JAM? Would you say, so the money, all the money is coming into JAM, the first remitted to... No, for instance, in JAM, for instance, that's why I don't want to predict the outcome of the report, but I would suggest that in that report, if you are going to create a revenue agency, for instance, you must have staff seconded to these ministries or agencies that will supervise this and take it away completely from this, like for instance JAM or from customs. Go to the port and see how everyone wants to carry file, you tip this, you tip that. No, there must be a unit. Once you pay there, you focus on what you're there for. So you can second staff from, I don't know the name they're going to give it at the end of it, but if I were a member of the committee, that's what I would suggest. We create an agency. We don't create an agency for us to sit in the office and every day we look at ourselves. You now second them to all these ministries, agency and departments. Their function is to go there and collect revenue from government, for government, and remit it back into, they must maybe create an account strictly for it, and then you take it away. That's my suggestion. Okay. And I think if they do it like that, I mean, we focus on what our core functions and leave the issue of who's going to raise this, and then I think it's not helping the country. Okay, so to you, Mr. San, we've had so many committees, and then at the end of the day, we see EFCC chasing people around, DSS arresting people for non-accountability. How can we be sure, or what is the hope that this committee now set up, and eventually they bring up recommendations, there will be transparency and accountability in the whole process?
Well, the issue of accountability starts with Mr. President. You know, and if you look at the background of the president when he was governor, so he's someone who believes in accountability. I give you responsibility, you must account for it. So he also, I give it to him. On that his measure, we can decide, but I give it to him. So how he's going to follow up on this is a fundamental issue, because like, at least I may disagree with Tony to an extent.
No, it's allowed, it's allowed.
It's allowed.
In terms of the structure he's talking about. In as much as I agree that some agencies should not be assigned with collection of revenue, like JAM, NECO, and all that, because they have primary responsibility for their own establishment. If you look at it critically, since they started with this pride of, oh, we have remitted social amount to the federal government, the cost of JAM exam has continued to rise as well, unusually, unprecedented. You know, in the past, it just...
That's why you have to take it away from them. That's exactly what
So the point is this, you can take it away from JAM, I agree with you. Issues like JAM, NECO, those ones you just get off it. But customs, NPA, I think those ones should, because the excise duty, import duty, export duty, and all that, they fall within the jurisdiction of the customs side. So they should continue, but well supervised. Okay, the NPA managing the ports.
In fact, that's where the major source of revenue is. That's why government is looking in that direction the more.
So that is not something you need to...
It may be constitutional. At the end of the day, we may need to amend the constitution for this to happen.
Yeah.
But, let me allow you to think, sorry.
Okay,
so go ahead.
Yeah. So you go to NPA, the management of the port, and all those revenues are coming within using of bags and all that. It's within the management of the NPA. You cannot transfer those funds to FIRS. So you have those agencies that are functional, let them continue. But those ones that were not initially created to generate revenue, they shouldn't be involved in it. They should take, I agree, those ones should be excluded in the reform. But again, you look at the accountability, you look at the process. Because that is where they're having major problems.
Yeah, right. The
process has not been that transparent. And he said he's going to talk about tax evasion, so we're going to get there. But you look at, there was something that one minister introduced, Ken Adeosun, voluntary access and income declaration system, VANS. And it yielded a result within that period, where people, you have not been paying tax for a long time. Now you now come and make your voluntary declaration or whatever, then you now pay. And they recorded figures of people who came in. So what they're also going to do, because what that tells us is that the process of even collecting the tax is to appear at the dictatorship. You see, when you make it open, transparent, so people will win it.
Is that transparency I have issues with?
Yeah.
Because it's not possible.
So you saw when that lady did that, you were coming, and it was expanding. Okay? Now he talked about NNPC. In fact, they were holding NNPC responsible for their remission to the financial account. The series of meetings, they said, no, we are not agreeing with what you are presenting. You go back. So they had to adjourn meetings. And you know something, they now said that lady formed forged certificate. Because she was working. And since they have never had a minister of finance who did what she did.
So you were going to say transparency.
This is why I feel that at the end of the day, I buy what the present administration wants to do in this regard. Because just as I said earlier, there are some inconsequential agencies that are doing this.
But we're not sure yet if the president is going to turn this committee into...
That's what they said. They said it's only... That's why the chairman of the committee is recommending that only FIRS collect revenue on behalf of government. If you want to raise the revenue of this country, it must... You must have a common purse. When you view it, you can say, this is what you have. Not this one remitting today and tomorrow is telling you we can't remit it. No, something has to give way. You cannot continue to run the country like this on sentiment and emotion. We must do it right. Set up an agency, collect strictly tax of people. I mean, what are you entitled to? Your salary, you still get your salary. Don't collect. You are even saving your job. Focus on this. The MP or whatever. So for instance, you have some agency of government that are not supposed to. For Nigerian Communication Commission, Nigerian Upstream Petroleum, you have a lot of them under petroleum. We have a Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, we have National Automotive Designs, Joint Admission, NBC, for instance, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, FAN. We have Federal Road Safety Commission, Standard Organization. Everybody is collecting revenue. How can you account for this at the end of the day? So if you really want to do it, there must be an eagle eye. As in, you're collecting, you're remitting. Not that, look at what the NMD is saying. For how many months, there's no remittance. Now who's going to take a fall for it? Nobody's taking a fall for it. So if you want to get it right, you want to know how much you have, there must be a common purse, and for you to make it happen, there must be an agency strictly responsible. If it requires government sending, staff of such agency to your job is go to this ministry, that's your job, sit down there and collect and ration. At the end of the day, put this thing together and send it to Nigeria. It's simple. It's as simple as that. We can do it. The same problem we have is corruption. It's simple. Corruption. Why is it not possible? Why can't this agency actually do it?
Single account. Then that works for...
For instance, the president wants to replicate what he did in Lagos. The question is, how did he generate it? How did he raise the revenue base of Lagos? So if you can do it in Lagos, you can do it there. And you can see the sign. He picked this guy from nowhere. He wasn't a member of the party. And he said, please come. Sit down, look at this issue for it. And the guy came and said, this is what we are thinking. And at the end of the day, if my committee come up with that report and you trash it, I will go home. I have nothing to lose. But the fact is that this is what I think should be done, because I don't see why you set up agencies and all they do is to collect revenue for government. And at the end of the day, you don't see it. We're not seeing it. And that's what I'm going to. This issue of people and tax evasion and all that. For you to increase tax, people want to see what you use the old one for.
Yeah.
When Fashola was governor of Lagos State here, he did a lot. And at the end of the day, we're seeing what he was using the resources to do. People were walking up, going to the tax station to pay their tax without being prompted. That's all the people need. Not when you raise tax and use to start funding the lavish lifestyles of our politicians. It doesn't make sense. And when you're saying you want to raise tax, something needs to give way too from that side. You need to cost the cost of governance. I have no problem with tax. Everybody needs to pay, no matter how small. Then we need to pay tax if the country must make progress. But as we're paying the tax, we want to see what this tax is used for.
So aside seeing what the tax is used for now, how specifically can the government bring on everyone? So there are some companies that also, tax they deduct taxes from their employees' salaries, and they don't get remitted. Even many staff do not have tax identification number or ID, so to say. So what specifically can be done to bring everybody on board? Because as seen in the report, that's one of the challenges we are looking at this committee will have. I think I would like to start with you.
Yeah, in the first, that has to do with enforcement. Or it means that the tax institution within that jurisdiction is actually not active. Because you have an organization that have to register workers,
and at the end of the day, they're not seeing it.
They're not remitting, and you don't do anything. Then you blame the institution. Okay. Now, I do not know the autonomy of the committee. Cannot say, because we are talking about expanding the tax net. Because one argument that came up earlier: do not increase the tax rate, but expand the tax net. Now, if you are doing that, you have just started an instance. That's they have to. That one is already accommodated, but not enforced, not properly enforced. What you say?
Which is that?
The contracts.
Okay.
It's already accommodated, but not properly enforced, and that's where the problem. Now, when you go to the informal economy,
why is not properly enforced is my problem.
Yeah,
you need to.
That's exactly.
That's why I'm. Yes, it's important.
Yeah.
But if you don't get it right, it will get
come to also look at the structure. That is what it was meeting on. Now, you look at the informal economy, you see hundreds of millions running in the hands of some individuals daily. These ones, they don't even pay tax. You take the Agberos, for instance. They pay hundreds of millions a day on account of...
There is a remittance process that they do.
To who? When you go and ask the question, I'm not even sure they are accommodating the tax bracket.
No, they're not captured.
Tried when he was governor in Lagos State. He formed a committee. They were negotiating it. And they said, and he was negotiating with the union leaders, these transport workers. Say, look, take your men off the street. Let's have a pool of revenue collection from the motorists. Then at the end of the month, the union should now come and get it from government, so that there will be sanity on the road. Do you understand? I covered one of the meetings, so I could just say it specifically. And they had this meeting, and at a point, there was RTW, whatever, and NHW, so there was disagreement. The return and the NUT. any arbitration document. And there was a disagreement between the two unions. They were telling the retainer, no, you are our employers. So you cannot be collecting when you are employed. And also we're not arguing that they also have a stake. That was one of the arguments at that meeting. But that wasn't the issue. The issue is that they eventually disagree with the governor that they cannot have a pool. So they prefer the roadside collection. Now drivers are losing money, and drivers are not in official tax bracket. Except for the driving license they acquired. Alright? They obtained. Now the average themselves, what they are even collecting daily, can even run a government. And these are funds that are not accounted. So does the committee has a capacity to look into these areas and say, okay, we'll get this one to restructure their activities and let's get it on.
Hopefully they are watching and listening to us right now, so they will be looking and seeing aspects that they should go into. Mr. Luke, you mentioned that you have a problem with the enforcement. So how exactly do you think that can be done? He also mentioned enforcement.
See, the truth is this. We don't have...
I like that, the truth.
Yes, the truth. Because it's the truth that we said this country is free. The truth is, we know our problems. Even before the committee will come up, we know our problems. We have committee reports on different administration and all that. You know, at the end of the day, it's implementation that matters. So we know the problem here. But the major problem Nigeria needs to tackle is this corruption. Just as they were saying about Agberos and Nigerian road transport workers, telling the governor how they want it. And at the end of the day, most times, they get their, they have their way. So until we sit down and say, no, that's not what, this various taxes, this multiple taxations you're collecting, you're taking it from people, the downtrodden, the masses, who do not even have, some of them don't even have money to pay for their tea fare. So they struggle to pay. And then you take it from them and to fund the lifestyles of some people. I mean, it's not captured in the revenue brackets of government. That's all the problem is. The problem of Nigeria, I've said it many times, it's corruption.
So
it's the will, I'm saying that. The will to punish for bad behavior. It's simple. It's like I said, the political will. And not say, no, this guy belongs to my party. No, he's a Christian, he's a Muslim. The day we stand up and say, you committed an infraction, you committed a crime, you're going for it. No, look, I mean, that's why you have this symbol of justice blindfolded. You don't see it, you don't need to see. The fact that the judgment was fair. You steal 1 naira, you go to jail. You steal 10 naira, you go to jail. People start sitting up. You collect revenue for government and you do not get it back to, and you siphon it. And people go scot. We have cases now, people, and 2 days after you see it on the street. So until you punish, just democracy, but there's a rule. You still have judiciary. I know at times the will of justice grinds slowly, but then let's just be fair once. There's the Accountant General of this federation. Last year we know the story. Where is it today? He's working free. It was built. So these are the people we look up to. And then somebody wants to do it tomorrow, nothing will happen. I mean, we know it now. It happens everywhere. So first and foremost, to tackle corruption, I was expecting the federal government to first and foremost rev the anti-corruption agency, fortify it, because they need to know that this is what we're coming for. Until you do that, we're just making progress in circle. Because to continue, set up this committee, they're going to come up with, we're making a recommendation, they bring out reports and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, implementation matters. And they say, this, if you do this, you go to jail. We have the capacity to do it because that is what is make people at the end of the day to say, okay, let me go and pay tax because government don't use my money to buy SUV for legislators and give them 2 million naira for just small holiday to go. I mean, it's prayers. So I want to see that all these things have been taken care of. It will stop. People will walk in and pay. But first, you must fight corruption. People must pay.